Well, get ready to summon some fun. Beetlejuice the musical is headed to the Miller Auditorium in Kalamazoo, promising chaos, laughs, and a little bit of the undead. Inspired by Tim Burton's movie that we all know and love, this show is part spooky, part hilarious, 100% entertaining. We got Jeff Brooks joining us via Zoom this morning. He plays Charles Dietz in the show. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right. For those of us watching right now who have seen the movie but have not seen the show, talk about what's different and what's the same. What are people going to experience?
Well, it is very different from the movie in a lot of ways, but similar to the movie in all of the ways that you want it to be. Anyone who is a fan of the movie is going to love this musical because there's so many nods to the 80s movie and so many jokes that we bring back. We resurrect from the dead. But one of the most instantaneous things that you'll notice is that Beetlejuice isn't really the villain anymore. He is the main character of the story now. And he proves that within the first 5 minutes of the musical when he just starts talking directly to the audience and doesn't stop talking directly to the audience for the remainder of the piece. So Beetlejuice becomes less of the villain of the piece and becomes more of the narrator and your anti-hero that you're along on the ride with, and assures you that everyone just sit in your seats, you'll be fine. We're just going to do a little show about death and we're going to get you out of here. Yeah. It's really, really fun.
I love that. Yeah, he doesn't really ever stop talking. He's got a lot of things to say.
He never stops talking. Never.
That's good. So talk a little bit about your role. Obviously, you're Charles Dietz, kind of the buttoned up, main man character besides Beetlejuice. What do you like playing about this role?
Well, I too am a fan of the original movie, and I have to go on record as saying I wasn't a huge fan of Charles in that movie. I didn't really think he had a very fleshed out arc. He wasn't a very interesting character. He was a bird watcher. He was written to be a boring character that was just kind of absently moving through Lydia's life. And so much of this story that we're telling will address that absence, basically, and it'll show not just a character in Lydia's story, but a father who wants to be a part of her life, and will throughout the piece, like, these two characters will find each other again, try to find each other again, and come closer. And we really attack the family aspects of that story that were not really approached. Like, friends of the movie will tell you that they loved Catherine O'Hara and they loved her portrayal, but those characters, Delia and Charles, were kind of looked at as bad guys in a little bit of a way, like something for Lydia to run from, not to.
Yeah, absolutely. And how fun for you to be able to give that character the depth that you didn't see in the movie.
Love it.
Yeah, let's talk too about taking a familiar story and bringing it to the stage. Talk about how that can be a really good entry point for people to see a Broadway show, because I think a lot of people think, that's not really my thing. What's your justification for getting them out to see this show?
Well, what I'll say is, if you were a fan of the movie, you've got at least 5 things that you can quote from that movie, whether it was Michael Keaton's line, whether it was Catherine O'Hara's line, or if it was just an aspect of the movie, like, the underworld with, like, Juno smoking with all of the dead in the underworld and all of that stuff. Everybody's got a favorite part of that movie that they can remember, and we hit on every single one of those old tropes. And you'll see old characters brought back in a new light. I don't want to ruin anything, but there is a sandworm, and it's pretty awesome. Yeah. And it's like a whole character in the piece too.
I love that. And are there any moments that you particularly love that feel kind of magical, that really stand out to you?
Well, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say one of my favorite parts of getting to do my job at night is working with Leona Weaver, who's our Lydia, and getting to tell that story of Lydia and her father trying to find each other in this world where they're dealing with grief and loss and trying to reconnect as a family. And there's a scene in Act 2 that's one of my favorite things to do every night, and we get the whole stage to ourselves, and it's really a lovely moment in what's otherwise a pretty crazy madcap musical. Aside from that, everybody who I talked to and everybody in this production agreed that there's a song at the top of Act Two that is pretty spectacular. There's a 1-2 punch at the top of Act Two that you're going to want to come back from the bathroom on time. You don't want to miss the beginning of Act Two. It's pretty awesome.
Love that. Coming back with a bang after intermission. Yeah, don't take too long in the bathroom. Famous last words, don't do that. Besides, making sure that you're in your seat on time, what else is so great about live theater? Let's talk about what you get from it and what you hope the audience takes away.
Well, I mean, like I was saying before, I love talking about this. There are two different kinds of musicals, I think. There are musicals that ask you to lean back and we're going to tell you a story. We're going to let the story wash over you. And then there's musicals that ask you to lean forward and be a part of the story. And Beetlejuice doesn't really give you an opportunity. You're asked to be a part of this story from the very beginning. So if you thought you were going to be sitting in the dark for 3 hours, that's not true. He can see you and he's going to be talking to you and calling you out. So if you're into that interactive part of theater, it's like, we're not dragging people up on stage here, but Beetlejuice is very aware of the audience and speaks to them the entire musical, which is so much fun for us.
So much fun and very different. Awesome. Can't wait. Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today. Of course, if you want to catch Beetlejuice on stage, it's coming to the Miller Auditorium May 8th through 10th. Tickets are available now. Just head to millerauditorium.com.